Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by robotic process automation pioneer Blue Prism. Digital transformation has the potential to reshape the way companies service their customers, engage their employees, and manage their operations. Whether you're looking to develop strategies, tactics, and best practices to positively impact the future of work, or you're curious to learn how other companies have successfully navigated their digital transformation programs, then this podcast is for you. We're here to help you transform now.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Michael Marchuk, and today on the Transform Now podcast, we have our special guest, Lora Bucis, Manager of Digital Adoption Training with SAIT. Welcome, Lora.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and about SAIT?
Yeah, for sure. So SAIT is a polytechnic post-secondary in Alberta, Canada. And we are essentially a polytechnic, which means we train in all trades and technology. And we service what's primarily a resource-based economy here in Alberta. And our goal is really around enabling organizations and people to thrive. So my role specifically is I work very closely with one of our schools. We have 8 schools at our post-secondary, and the school that I work with is the School for Advanced Digital Technology. And we're very focused on developing certificates, micro-credentials, and short courses in digital adoption to basically support the modernization that's happening and digitization that's happening within our industries here in Alberta. And so our role is very much spans developing programming that spans a lot of the technologies and mindsets that's needed to make technology and innovation thrive here in our province.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So SAIT has recently partnered with Blue Prism to deliver some career training to professionals, and I'm hoping you can describe that a little bit more and tell us about the program.
Yeah, you bet. We're so excited to have this partnership with Blue Prism. We essentially have looked at what's going on in our industries right now, and automation is heavily at the forefront in terms of how our industries and folks are looking at to streamline processes and create operational efficiencies. We basically took Blue Prism's Associate Developer Program for RPA and wrapped it around some of the leadership, the soft skills, the project work that we feel is really going to make people successful in terms of implementing RPA in organizations here. We know that a lot of organizations are a little hesitant to dive into automation because they want to mitigate the risk. They're not really sure how it should be done. So what we did is we took just the excellent content curriculum that you have there, Blue Prism, and we added on expertise, local expertise that have gone through this and done this and wrapped it around active projects. So our students are going to be working on projects. We talk about leadership. We talk about how to choose projects. We talk about how to work internally within your organization to address any concerns or barriers that you might find. And we really feel like we've got something that is setting people up for success to be able to take forward automation projects within organizations and hopefully mitigate some of the hesitation and concern that we're seeing around just dipping a toe in. Our program is really designed for folks that are working as part of a center of excellence, and it gives them a real step forward in terms of working with an RPA team, or if they're looking at net new and introducing RPA to their organization because they see the opportunity, but they're just not sure how to do it. The program's really well set up to be able to do that.
Why is it important for SAIT to offer training like this RPA program for career professionals? Why did you hone in on automation as something that's important for you to offer?
Well, as I mentioned, our core industries here are resource-based, and they're going through massive modernization and digitization right now. There's so many demands on our industry, and just COVID exponentially made that apparent, and we were going through that already. What we have is industries that are going through massive disruption, and the people that work within those industries are tasked with still keeping the wheels on the bus, so to speak, but still pushing forward advances in productivity and safety and a lot of those other things. What we find as educators is that we need to be future looking, but we also need to meet folks as to where they are. And so for us, it's really important to ensure that our economies and folks are thriving. And so what we saw, what was happening in our industries was that there's a bit of a catch-22. Organizations were hesitant to adopt new technologies, and people were hesitant to spend the time training because everybody's very busy right now, unless the industries are adopting. And so what we found is that if we could start developing programming that almost de-risk the process, utilize great processes and what Blue Prism has put together in your operating model, and combine that with local expertise and the support of people locally who have here gone through that and done that, we are able to provide educational programming that almost helps like de-risk some of the factors of just diving into it. What we really see is these programs could really act as a little bit of a catalyst for folks to be able to dip a toe in and do it in a little bit of a safer way and a more supported way as they adopt new technologies. We know it's tough when you're already going full out and working a job, or you're maybe pivoting your career and you potential to future proof your career. And so we thought this was a great area to help people and organizations start to think about their digital transformation and how they're automating some of their processes.
So that's interesting. So you actually saw some demand from industry locally, and that really has sparked this interest of how can we help get the industry the talent that they're looking for by offering this type of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a few leaders in the space that we've brought in to help develop and design our programs, who have been extremely successful in standing up centers of excellence and have really activated RPA within their organizations. We've leveraged some of those partnerships and brought them in to inform and actually design and instruct the programs. And when we talk to industry, and it is very connected to industry, like we consider we're lockstep with them. Our premise is that we meet them where they are. We're here to help them solve for their talent problems. So when we talked to them, we knew that there was a great interest in automation, in intelligent automation, in moving towards this space, but there was a lack of talent and knowledge of that domain expertise to be able to do that, and a little bit of hesitancy of not being really sure. You can't do that unless you have people who know how to start. One thing that I think we're very good at is we're very good at finding those folks who are passionate about this, passionate about developing talent and creating those sorts of partnerships. So what we basically did is pull together some really great experts who have done this, who have some of the war wounds of implementing RPA in their organizations and have been extremely successful at doing that. And what we wanted to do is build a program that essentially takes them through the route to do it, that hopefully doesn't take them down some of the fraught paths that some of the others have done. So we absolutely see a demand for this. We absolutely see an appetite for it. The biggest barrier we found was talent. And so what we're hoping to do is convince more of those champions to dive in and to lead these sorts of initiatives in Alberta. We think this is global. I've talked to folks actually outside of Alberta, nationally and internationally, and what we hear is that there's a lot of appetite for automation, and that one of the barriers actually is talent of people who can confidently head into this space. So we're really excited to support fixing that.
I can imagine. So as you see automation becoming more mainstream in corporations and public entities, do you see the degree programs adopting more of a active path and offering intelligent automation and AI training? And what could that look like as these programs change?
Yeah, 100%. So we've already had quite a bit of interest and curiosity from some of our diploma and degree programs here at SAIT. They're already looking at how they incorporate aspects of automation within their programs and across programs, so across industries, across programs, because what we're finding is that it's affecting a lot of different jobs and industries. With the increased use of and accessibility of low-code and no-code solutions in AI and automation, there's an amazing opportunity to start showing the potential of automation to folks with domain expertise. So what we're seeing is that there's a real interest in what we're doing in the continuing education space for automation training across the gamut of intelligent automation. And what are the components that we could actually start plugging into some of our diploma and degree programs, just to give people visibility, to give them an understanding of the potential, give them access to some of the tools, demystify a little bit around what could be done, and get them thinking around how do we actually shift the work from some of those routine tasks to thinking about how do we actually create value for our customers and create efficiency within our processes. Sometimes it's hard to innovate in education. So part of what we're doing in the continuing education space is a little bit of experimenting. And then we can start to fuel that, some of those longer programs with what we're learning as part of that.
All right, so do the directors of your degree program see the same potential? I know it could take a long time for these programs to adjust to what's going on in industry, which is why your continuing education program is experimenting. But how do you see professors and program directors adopting these newer technologies, which are affecting how work is getting done?
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of visibility to how, other institutions work, but I'd say we are applied. So we're very project based. We are very, as I mentioned, we're very connected to industry. And our instructors and academic chairs are super, super keen to understand what's happening within the workspace and how can we adapt our program. So obviously, it could take a little bit longer to adapt a 4-year degree or a 2-year diploma. And, we want to make sure that content and what we're teaching is validated by industry. We call them workplace competencies. We want to make sure they're aligned to workplace competencies. We do a lot of work around checking those workplace competencies with our industry partners to make sure that we're actually meeting their needs. And what I'm finding is that there's a great appetite to work to move with the industry and get ahead of where we think they're going to be going in 2 and 4 years. So the students that we're producing actually have a perspective and can meet industry as to where they are. Obviously, it's a challenge when you've got folks in a 4-year degree. It's hard to know where that's going to need to be in 4 years, but we've been very innovative in adding stuff into our programs, in offering work outside of the programs and offering them potential for their laddering. There's a lot of work going on to make sure that we stay current in that way. It's been really actually quite encouraging. And I know a lot of our students are really happy with what they're seeing and they're coming out of.
That makes total sense. So you mentioned you're working a lot with your local industries, but you also mentioned something earlier in terms of talent being seen at a broader level, at both a national level within Canada, but within North America and globally. How do you see programs like yours helping to develop that talent to help upskill these folks who are in career transition?
Yeah, we really are. We're focused on our local market and our local economies, but we know that some of these areas that we've been looking at, such as RPA and automation, they're a global trend. And usually when we go into a program development or design, we'll have a lot of conversations with our local industries and understand where they're at. But then we also take a global perspective on it and say, okay, what's happening globally? What are the best practices that we can learn from? Can we validate the workplace competencies, not only globally or locally? When we choose a programming area such as automation that we're going to start building a program around, what we want to do is with remote work, now some of those barriers have been removed. So if we can train somebody locally and then they can end up working globally in an industry, I think there's that opportunity with automation. I think there's the opportunity for global companies to hire some of the folks that we're training in that space as well. SAIT as an institution has trained globally historically for many years in a number of different areas. And so we do have that perspective that we are providing global opportunities to our students once they go through these programs. And I definitely see automation as one of those. When we validate the workplace competencies, I talk to folks in different parts of the world and ask them to look at our program and say, is this something that you could see hiring for, or you could see being needed in your market? And we got a resounding yes for that. I feel really confident with remote work the way it is and the platforms the way they're designed that we're going to open up a lot of opportunities for folks that go through this program.
That's awesome. So when you're looking at the typical students who are going through this program from a career transition or a upskilling perspective, can you describe what that might look like? What is a traditional person coming in this, or is there a traditional student type that would come into this that would be more or less successful?
Yeah, so our feeling is initially that students could come from two different streams, or folks could come from two different streams. We really want people who, I guess the first kind of bucket is people with domain expertise and who have experience in processes or process optimization historically. Very much folks who say come from healthcare processes or finance or energy, people who are immersed in processes, who understand processes and maybe see where they could be improved or where they could be automated, because we know that background is really important. And we have one of our instructors and folks who built our program actually came from that background where he was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity where I could automate a bunch of these processes and start doing more strategic, meaningful work. So we're targeting that sort of group because we know that there's a lot of functions right now that are being disrupted through automation. And we'd love to see people doing more strategic, meaningful work and get away from some of those routine tasks. The other area that we feel could be really successful is people coming from an IT or more technical background. So when we built our program, we actually built it with that lens and we merged those two groups together and said, okay, you guys have both different perspectives. Build the ideal program you wish you had when you were entering this field. And that's essentially what they did, is they came together. And so our instructional team right now includes somebody who comes from a finance background and was self-taught RPA and is now an RPA developer, and someone that has an IT background that has moved into an RPA developer space. So we feel really lucky that when folks go through the program, they could have come from either background. They could potentially be working with each other, and they'd have opportunities then to move more into a business process automation stream or a more technical stream. So the program really is designed to meet the needs. And when we put people on the projects within the program, they'll get the opportunity to work as a team and actually understand each other's perspectives. So both the business process and the IT perspective. And we feel like we've had really great success in programs where we put together teams with different perspectives, and it's really lent a richness of understanding different perspectives and the bigger picture when you're doing something like technology implementation. So that's what we're hoping to achieve. We're really big on teaming in the programs. We're really big on making sure people are working well together and collaborating and understanding different perspectives. That's been a really great success in terms of some of the other programs we've developed, and we've applied the same methods in this one as well.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad you've taken that perspective of both IT and business, because that's really where RPA fits in the sweet spot. So thank you for joining us today and talking with us more about your program. This is really exciting, and I'm super happy to see that Blue Prism and SAIT can work together to help really upskill folks going through career transitions, as well as to look at other students who may be coming up through their degree process and help them understand what this new world of work is all about. So thank you for joining us today. No, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Blue Prism has been just a really great partner for us. We've learned a lot through the process, and you've all been very supportive of what we've tried to accomplish and build. So I'm super excited to see what comes out of it.
Thanks for tuning in to Transform Now. For more insightful discussions on digital transformation and more, check out our podcast channel where you'll find all of our previous episodes. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review. For more information about digital transformation and the future of work, check out blueprism.com to learn how Blue Prism's digital workforce is enabling enterprise transformation now.